So inadvertent impromptu homework. If you have a pencil and paper or a pen, a writing utensil of some sort, or if you have a phone, whatever you have to write this down. And I'm going to do this with you because I didn't want to come all like prepared. I wanted to feel it in the moment. So I want you to write down 3 things that would make your life better, or 3 ways your life would be better if you woke up tomorrow and your weight loss goals were achieved. Like if Aladdin was real, Will Smith or Robin Williams, depending on what version of the genie you love, were to pop out and grant you the wish and your weight is gone. If that happens tomorrow, what are 3 ways that your life is better? I'm going to jump into that homework right now myself. By the way, I'm going to share them because that's my job. I'm not going to ask you to share them because that would be awkward. But I have no problem getting awkward. Y'all know that. Look at my hair. All right. Gonna do it for about 30 more seconds. But the whole plan was to just go top of mind because I've got to imagine that when these things don't happen, there's a part of us that hope and dream for what weight loss or what a healthy body image or what freedom would look like. So the whole goal is to not really dig deep, but to say that on the top of our mind, what are the things that we feel that weight loss would afford us? Because I genuinely believe nobody loses weight for the sake of weight loss. Like it's much like money. No one wants to be rich for the sake of being rich. No one wants to be like Scrooge McDuck and just jump into coin piles. Most people want to have money for the freedoms that money affords them. And I feel it's the same way with weight loss. Most people don't want to just take a scale like the dude in the Say Anything movie and like, look at my scale. Like, I don't think anyone wants to do that. I think we want to have the freedoms that weight loss affords. And so when looking at that, when I look back at the 3 biggest things that weight loss has afforded me, number 1 is going to be confidence. And that is self-confidence, that is Christ confidence, that is confidence across the board. And what that confidence has allowed me to do is it helped me improve my relational life. I'll never forget, I had the confidence to ask out my first girlfriend when I lost the weight. That was fun. Didn't end well, but you know what? Still happened. That happened. I had the confidence. I had the confidence to wear clothes that actually fit. I feel like when you're overweight, you don't like, yes, you can pick things off the rack, but seldom do you really get to choose what clothes you wear. It's kind of like, well, what fits? Or what can I squeeze into that doesn't create too much of my sausage arms, and everything in between. So for me, confidence was the first thing. Second thing was the freedom of purpose. I feel like so many things and so many books and so many podcasts and pastoral teachings are done on finding your purpose, but quite often we're so consumed with us and the way we look and what weight does to us that we don't even pay attention to the things we could be doing or should be doing with our time. So once the weight was gone, I had the confidence to actually explore what God had called me to. I was able to start doing those things, which then led to the third thing that was amazing, which was the abilities. Just the things I was able to do. And I know that some of you are finding that right now with your success. Some of you are able to walk up and down stairs without holding rails anymore. And that's amazing. Some of us are finding a love in dancing that we couldn't because our knees didn't support it. Some of us are finding a love in kayaking that we couldn't do 70 pounds ago. So when I say abilities, that weight, when on, it robs us of certain things, which ironically is a very good segue into our next bit of homework, which are right now, what are 3 ways that being overweight is holding you back? And that could be physically, that could be mentally, that could be emotionally, but what right now are 3 things that weight is just standing in the way of, that if you were able to punch weight in the face and it was able to drop like bricks, like you were Mario, like do 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 do, and like that brick of weight could break, what would you be able? Like, what is it keeping you back? Like, what is it doing to you? What's making you sad? What are 3 things that being overweight is holding you back from? I'm gonna write mine real quick. All right, I'll just jump into mine real quick while you all are completing. When I look back, the biggest one of and it's hard, right? It's like your kids. It's tough to say like I love this kid better. Like they're all different and they're all amazing for different reasons. And so these 3 things, though they are listed numerically 1 through 3, all 3 of these things, and forgive the language, they sucked. Like there's not one that sucked worse than the other or one that I hated more than the other. All 3 of these were awful. So the first thing that weight was holding me back from was being social, especially in my youth. Like that's when you go out and you establish your identity and who you are and you make friends and all those fun things that should be afforded to you with growing up. And I didn't have that. Now, mind you, I'm not lamenting over it, but that was real. Like so much of my childhood and my adolescence was in this struggle that so many of the things that typical kids got to do, I didn't really get to do. And when I was able to do them, it didn't end up well. So like being the single dude at a middle school dance or a high school dance or playing hockey, but having your equipment break on you because it wasn't made for people your my size. So being social was one of the things that being overweight robbed me of. 2, financial freedom. One of the things that astounds me when people say, I can't afford to eat healthy, is I don't think those people ever actually do authentic introspection to look at how much money they're spending on the foods that keep them unhealthy. I mean, I look at my life from age 15 to 17 when I worked at an amusement park, and that like 2 summers of money gone, wasted on basically late night binging at Long John Silver's or Taco Bell. Like by the way, brilliant but frustrating when Taco Bell tried to be like, it's the 4th meal. And then like intermittent fasting came along and was like, no, we'll destroy it. And then the rest of us are like, it shouldn't have been a thing in the first place. What, why? Anyways, so many of us spend so much money on the foods that keep us unhealthy that like where does that money go? What could be done with that money? And so being overweight robbed me of financial freedom. Plus, when you start to factor in consistent medications and fun fact, you have to pay more for large sizes if you can find them. And so it's like I had this concept of writing not necessarily a book but a pamphlet called How to Avoid the Fat Tax, because when you're overweight, life just costs you more. And while it's unfortunate, it's real, it's true. And so that was another thing, like being overweight robbed me of financial freedom. But the third is it genuinely robbed me of my health to some degree. One of the things that they don't talk about when you're overweight is just how much your thighs rub together. And like that constant thigh on thigh action, if not treated, it's not pleasant. And I'm still overcoming the back issues that were afforded to me when I was overweight, and it's getting so much better. But my posture suffered because like there's so many things with my health that, praise God, I've been able to turn that ship, but they're still real and there's still consequences. So I hope you have your list of 3 ways that your life would be amazing right now if the weight was gone, and 3 things right now that being overweight is holding you back from. And I want you to hold on to those. But right now, we're going to unpack 1 Corinthians 10:23. So we're going to go into 1 Corinthians 10:23. It's a short verse, but it's concise, and it's going to really matter. So here we go. 1 Corinthians 10:23. Everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Everything's permissible, but not everything is constructive. I want that to resonate for a moment. Everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible, but not everything is constructive. People often ask me what I feel about cheat days. And my response is always this. If you have things that being overweight is robbing you of, and if you have things that your life would be exponentially better in so many ways if that weight was gone, who are you cheating if you're not acting in a way that supports your goals? Now, this isn't to say that you shouldn't have cheesecake or soda or brownies or forever remove these things from your life. But what it is saying is, are we becoming so romanticized by the foods we're eating that we're willing to not admit to ourselves that quite often the relationships we have with food are actually the most abusive relationships we have in our lives? Because I know we all have some sort of trauma in this journey. Some of it's really deep, some of it's really superficial, some of it goes back to our youth, some of it happened recently. But if we look at what food has done to us, would that be acceptable if other external sources did that? I mean, think about the guilt and the shame you feel when you eat in a way that keeps you overweight. And think about if you had a romantic partner that made you feel that way when they talk to you. Would you stay in that relationship? No. You'd get out as soon as you can. You'd question. You'd be like, what in the world? Like how? So when it comes down to the concept of cheating on your weight loss program, if living in a way that keeps you perpetually unhappy is getting in the way of your happiness, who are you cheating when you're not doing the things that are going to lead you to happiness? And I know there's the psychology of, well, no one going to tell me what to do. I'm rebelling against authority. Well, everything's permissible. What are you rebelling against? You have permission to literally do anything you want to do. Now, it's not all beneficial. It doesn't support the goals you said you've wanted. And it's actually causing you more harm than it is good. Which then again begs the question, what are you actually rebelling against? Because it's hard to rebel against freedom. And that's the glory of free will. Some might say it's the blessing and the curse of it. You know, we always want God to be close when we need him. But when we feel like we got it under control, then we cry free will. Like we're not a marionette. We're not a puppet. We don't want to dance the way God asked us to dance. Well, this is where free will works in both beneficial and sometimes non-beneficial ways. Because everything's permissible. Permissible? Permissible, sure. Permissible. Words are hard. Everything's permissible, but it's not beneficial. Yes, more coffee. You're absolutely right. Thank you. I can feel myself getting smarter by the grace of God. And see, this is James, right? This is James in a cup. I've got faith that God's going to give me the words and the Spirit's going to allow me to say them. But the works aspect is me consuming enough coffee for it to happen. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. True ministry partner right there. But since everything's permissible, what are we rebelling against? And if every time we have a less than desirable meal choice, or an overindulgence of desserts or sweets because we feel like we deserve them, then I want you to be reminded of your list. Because don't you also deserve to be happy? Don't you deserve to also have those three things that losing weight or having a proper body image would afford you? Don't you also deserve to not be held back by those three things that are making you sad or unhappy in your current condition? Because you absolutely do deserve those as well. So, the biggest and most easiest way to stop cheating on your program is to understand who you're actually cheating when you do. Quite often, I become an authority figure because I'm the one who's tasked with keeping people accountable. So people feel like they're cheating on me. Or I'm an authoritarian, and if you don't do those foods right, Jeremy's gonna come with this pen. He's pretending to be a lantern, and he's gonna burn you with God. But God, every time we put an extra day between us and our goals, we are literally cutting off our nose to spite our face. We are literally cheating nobody but ourselves. And we're robbing ourselves of the true freedom that Christ died for on the cross. The blessing of salvation isn't just for eternity. That's a major part of it. But there's so much freedom that the act of the cross and that the gospel presents between now and when we die that we quite often miss it for some second-rate existence because we love trans fat. So 2 questions that I really want you to think upon as we kind of wrap up here. One, when we're looking at the concept of regret, 10, 20, 50, 30, hopefully 70 years from now, and life is waning down and you've got the chance to reflect, what are you genuinely going to regret? Are you going to regret not having more donuts in your life? Are you going to regret not supersizing when you could have? Are you going to regret not having that app on your phone which allows ordering food to be easier? Or are you going to look back and say, there was a 5-year span where I was single, I had expendable income, I had time and everything. I didn't have kids, or the kids were out of the house and I finally had a chance to work on me. Are you going to look back at a certain time of your life and say, if I'd have just seized that moment there, then the entire trajectory would have changed? Now, that's only an answer you can make, but I've yet to meet a person who has said, you know what, I'm cool not spending time with my kids, but I just wish I would have had 2 Polynesian sauces with my nuggets. Like, I've not met a person who that's been their regret. And so if we know that now, the glorious, glorious gift of free will is that not tomorrow, but today, we can do what we want. And so if we genuinely want those 3 things, which, by the way, there's more than 3 things. I just want to make you do like a dissertation of homework. You can make a big old list if you want, put on your wall of all the things weight loss is going to afford you. But for now, you've got the free will to pursue your health and wellness because you know it's going to lead to those 3 things and beyond. And while it's the free will that we have that allows us to rebel against ourselves, it's that same free will that says, no, I'm going to put food in its proper place. I'm not going to make it an idol in my life. I'm going to find actual joy and delight in God, in the gospel, in the body He made me, knowing that much like my soul, it too is in the process of being redeemed. Which is the second question I want you to consider. When you're making decisions and you feel like you're being cheated because you're choosing things that are going to lead to your future happiness, who are you really cheating by doing something that doesn't lead to your future happiness? Because it seems to me that your happiness is worth fighting for. I could be crazy, but it seems to me that living the life that you know God has called you to would be worth fighting for. So when it comes to the concept of cheating, I think we really need to put it into its proper perspective, because at the end of the day, when it comes to health and wellness and we're cheating on our program, I've yet to find someone who isn't actually cheating on themselves. And that just doesn't make sense, because you're robbing yourself of all the things that you want while inviting in all the things you don't. But again, free will. So those two things we'll leave off here, and we'll leave you to consider. One, what are you going to regret most? Is it not taking action now? Or is it not supersizing? Two, who are you cheating by doing things that nourish your body, by doing things that edify your soul and your spirit? If you master those two questions and you live in a way where your present allows you to let go of your past so you can fully regain your future, you're never going to regret anything, and you're not going to feel cheated. That's my hope, and that's my prayer for you.